everyone, my name is REDRUP. This is the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on this episode I'm joined by Tallah vocalist Justin Bonitz. We talk all about the band's brand new third album, Primeval Obsession Detachment, the concept that runs through the album, how he came up with the story and the characters, accompanying the album with a video game, recording each of his vocals on the album in just one take whilst also recovering from pneumonia, and loads more. But just before we jump into that chat, just a reminder that this is an independent podcast that's run solely by me, so any help and support that you can provide really does go a long way. You can hit subscribe or follow wherever you're checking this out, and that way you also don't miss out on anything new that I put out. You can leave a review or a comment, which helps to rank me up in the algorithm. You can follow the podcast on social media. If you'd like to get email updates, then you can sign up to the mailing list. And for those of you who want to go one step further, there's also a Patreon and there's a web store where you can pick up some merch. To make things as easy as possible for you guys, I've shoved links to everything that I've just mentioned in the description of this episode, or you can head to itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now, with all that out of the way, here's my chat with Justin Bonitz from Tallah. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of the It's Not a Phase podcast, where I'm joined by Justin of Tallah. How you doing, dude?
I am doing excellent. Thank you for asking.
Of course, dude. Yeah, I mean, album release week. It's got to be, such a exciting but busy and just a hectic time for you, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful. It's like we recorded everything almost a year ago. Like I think
Wow.
October finished. So we've had these songs for almost a whole year and we've been listening to them, and it's really exciting to know that everyone else is finally going to get to have them. So it's like just such a long album campaign, and we're just like, oh, it's almost done.
But what caused that then? Like, the long gap, is that because I don't know, like I know some bands have to wait a long time for like vinyl pressings because there's delays with vinyl manufacturing and stuff like that. Like what's been causing that for you guys?
I'd say it was a little combination of like delays for manufacture, but it was also like I said, we finished recording in like October of last year,
Right.
and then usually it's like mixing. We have to keep giving notes back and forth, and then once the label hears it, if they have any notes, they might give some. So I think it was like probably January by the time we everything was like totally set. And then after that, we get to decide, well, what songs are going to have videos? How many videos do we want to do? And I think originally we wanted to do a summer release, like June or July,
Right.
but there wasn't enough time to do all the things that we were planning on doing. So I got pushed back to September, and here we are.
Right. Okay. I mean, I guess as well, you guys do something that not many other bands do, which is also release an accompanying video game, which we'll talk about more later. But obviously, that's not something that can just be quickly done, right? And I guess you want to put that out around the time that the album comes out. So yeah, I'm sure that probably came into factors as well.
Honestly, that was kind of like there weren't like plans for it.
Right.
Um, for that, it was like Max. I don't remember when we were doing the Generation of Danger one. That was like Max's like big idea. He's like, it'd be really cool to promote the album with a video game. And then when we did this album run, he was like, I think we should just do that again because everyone had so much fun with it. I think it was a couple of fans that made it. I think he just asked
Right.
around, and I didn't really have too much to do with it. I supplied like some of the lines for the like the dialogue bits, but yeah, that was all Max and the I think it was like these two fans.
Wow. Okay. Like a little fan effort then, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like really get to play it. I popped in and got to mess around a little bit, but it seemed really cool. I love the
Yeah.
vibe of it.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Well, I mean, this is all talking about obviously the third Tallah album, which is Primeval Obsession Detachment. For everyone listening, that comes out September 5th via Earache Records. How are you feeling about getting this particular album out there? Album number three. Yeah, how do you feel about it?
It's kind of like a combination of being like excited but also nervous because album three, that's like a big one. That's a lot of bands. The album three is like the one you remember. Like you think of like Slipknot, Subliminal Verses was like, whoa. I mean, unless you count the that what was it? Like kill, mate, feed, repeat or something like
Oh yeah,
that.
the very first thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's technically album one, but if you're not counting that, then like Subliminal Verses is like album three. So it's like you think about that one, you think about was System of a Down, was Toxicity album three or was that album two? I
That
can't
was album
remember.
two. Number three was technically, well, it would be Steelers
Steelers
album.
album,
Yeah, yeah,
which that one had some bangers on it.
yeah.
But yeah, if I think Disturbed was their album three, was that 10,000 Fists?
I can't remember. I'm not sure on that one.
There's a lot of the new metal bands. It's like album three is like the big one. So it's like we're definitely nervous about that. But it's also like we did so many different experimental weird things on this album. There's more singing. It's still really heavy, but I feel like a lot of people might be worried that like, oh, they're going softer or something like that. Well, really,
Yeah,
we just be like weirder. We're a band that doesn't like to repeat ourselves, and we're like, we already did Metriphagy, we already did the Generation of Danger, we already messed around with like new core and math core and like just crazy nonstop chaos, and we're like, let's add some like melody to it and give people some stuff to sing along to in the crowd.
yeah, definitely. And just talking about like the third album in new metal, like a big one would be Follow the Leader by Korn. That's their third album, and that was a huge
Yeah.
album, which really like Freak on a Leash is still like played all over the place, right? So
Yeah, it's very it's nerve-wracking. Like we're like, oh, how I don't know, album 3 is definitely there's like I don't want to the word isn't like stigma. I think expectations. There's expectations around it. So far it seems like everything's been performing really well. The views are pretty fantastic on like everything but As Fate Undoes. That one is weird. That one, it seems like people don't know it exists. We put the video out and every like all the comments that we've seen, all the feedback, people like it, but we're like, but why does it only have like 20,000 views when all of our other videos have like 200,000? We're like, what? Like, why didn't people watch that video? Is it like,
yeah,
I think it's an ad? Is it the thumbnail? I did YouTube like totally just change their algorithm? Because I've noticed even like on my personal channels, everything just like the views just dropped. And I've seen
right.
other people complaining about that. I'm like, did they change their algorithm so like no one knows this video is even out there? It's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, social media does that all the time, doesn't it? They change the algorithms just like out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden you like your analytics are kind of like just going like that, and you just don't know
Yeah.
what the hell to do.
It's really, really weird. Like we're like comparing it because that one's on like Earache's official channel. And
Hmm.
then we released the video, I think before that one was just like a studio video we did, and we released that on our channel. And we're like, even that did better. Like,
Yeah.
why aren't people checking out the As Fate Undoes video? Because I don't know, it's such a fun, weird video. It really does feel like people just didn't know we dropped it. Even like
Yeah.
the reaction channels didn't pick it up. So we're like, this is so bizarre.
Well, maybe it'll be something that kind of gets picked up once the full album's out, right? Then people are like, oh, I don't even know this. Like, let's, I don't know, search for this track on YouTube. Oh, there's a video. Oh, and then that kind of like boosts it a bit.
Maybe that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, even like I was saying with my personal channels, like I upload like maybe like once every few months. And so on my cover channel, I've been really consistent over the last like 4 months, just like uploading one cover a month. And I get comments every once in a while where people are like, oh, he's back. And I'm like, I've been back for like
Yeah.
months.
I've
I
not
have
gone
no
anywhere.
content. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's strange, man. But I think like with what you've done with this album as well, which is not so common nowadays, is you tracked the whole thing live.
Yeah.
Um, so what was that experience like? That what made you want to go down that route for this record?
That's a great question. So I think it started because ever since like the conception of Tallah, we've never played like live to a click track. We've never used backing tracks or anything like that. We're just one of
Right,
those old school kind of bands. And Max, the bassist slash drummer, was kind of like, we should do that on an album. Like we don't use a click live. Let's see how it feels to not track with a click to an album because we used a click for the Generation of Danger and Metriphagy and the No One Should Read the CP. We're like, why not? Let's see what happens. Like break some norms. So that it kind of started there. And then after that, we were like, well, we should try to make the whole like album feel very organic. Like a lot of those like older new metal bands like Korn and Slipknot, they feel very like live when you're listening to them. So we ended up just doing these like big takes where it's like everyone playing at the same time, and like all the guitars were tracked at once, the drums were like tracked like in this live moment, so it has that natural push pull. And then once, like, I wasn't even at the studio at first, I was really sick,
Right.
so I wasn't there. I think they went in September. I wasn't there like most of September. I think it was like the very last week I flew in, or maybe it was the first week of August, or sorry, October, I can't remember. But I flew in and I heard the instrumentals for the first time and was like, I think I'm going to do everything in one take. Because I had been practicing it that way anyway. Like I have a little vocal booth, and I just had like, I would have like the lyrics in front of me and a handheld mic and just practice it all from start to finish. And I realized it was easier for me to do it that way because I had pneumonia at the time and I kept coughing like if I stopped doing vocals. So I
Right.
was like, if I can manage to not cough throughout this, then I could probably do it in one take. So I kind of just practice it like that for like once I decided I'm definitely going to do this, I was practicing it probably like twice a week for the next like 4 weeks, and then went to the studio, nailed it. And I was so proud of myself. But it just seemed like it fit the vibe a lot better. Like everything just feels so, I keep using the word like organic, but for me, it feels like you're like inside of like a greenhouse and the music's like happening around you. And there's like, I
Right.
don't know. That's like the weird vibe I get from it.
Well, I guess that will translate well when you play the songs live, right? Because you've already technically
Yeah.
played them live, right, on record, and it'll translate like the fans are basically hearing the record live. Well, I guess the closest interpretation they can get of that, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not going to sound exactly the same. Like, we're not going to,
Hmm.
there's lots of layers and sound effects that aren't going to be in there. There's like weird sound layers, but like vocally, it should sound the same. Like,
Yeah.
I nailed it. And then we have like harmonies, but our guitarist Derek does all the harmonies live. So that works out perfectly. I know some of the string stuff wouldn't be in there, but a lot of it probably still will because we have like a DJ who can sample it and then kind of like play it on his sample pad, or I don't know if he has a MIDI keyboard. We haven't played like a live show with the new DJ, so I don't know what his setup is. Stuff like that should translate quite well in a live setting. And then, yeah, everything else, like obviously stuff might get sped up, stuff might get slowed down. Like it really, that might be different, but for the most part, it should feel live.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think, like, at least from obviously from this experience, I guess it'll be something that you look at retrospectively, but do you think, at least at this moment, that doing it live, like recording live, would be just something that you want to do for whatever comes next for Tala?
I think we all had a lot of fun doing it. I
Yeah.
feel like I would love to do it again because I like now that I now that I've experienced that, even with my solo stuff, I'm like, how can I take these like MIDI drums and make them off the grid and make the tempo kind of waver so it has that feeling to it. So I do think that that is something we're going to pursue. I don't think I'm going to do a whole album in one take again.
Yeah, that's,
I
that's
think
quite ambitious.
like I'm sure I could, but with these songs, I really specifically wrote them in a way that it's not hard for me to do it. I wrote them thinking about, can I do this live? Whereas with the previous albums, I really wasn't doing that at all. I was just kind of like,
Right.
let's do the craziest vocal stuff that I can. With this album, I was like, I know that like I start to struggle singing like above C5. So let's not do anything higher than that. I know like certain screams that I really have a hard time mimicking live. So I'm like, let's not do those. Let's just really like be within like, I don't want to call it like a comfort zone, but like within this area of my voice that I know I can do this, even if I'm sick, even if I'm having a bad day, I can nail this. So I'm excited to play these songs live because I'm like, yeah, I really don't think like I can sound awful unless I'm like totally dying. But the fact that I recorded it with pneumonia, I'm like, I mean, I
Yeah.
kind of was already dying and it sounds awesome. So I should be good. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like the whole album in one take thing is like, that was, I want it to be special for this album. So I don't want to do it again. Like I could see myself doing like, a song in one take or maybe a couple songs, but like one giant continuous thing again. I really just want that to be exclusive to this album because it's a special album to me. And I just wanted to say that way.
Yeah, yeah. And I think from what you've said with, in terms of like those previous two albums, like you say you're doing like crazy like vocal parts. So I guess that's like you kind of like flexing what you could potentially do, whereas this album is like more of it's like a different challenge for you. It's like an endurance test, right? Like you're testing if you can do it for a long period of time, which obviously you could do because you're doing these songs with one take.
Yeah, it definitely, that's a great way to put it. Like I think the very first album was very much like we just wanted to hype people up and we wanted to make our footprint as like this is what kind of band we are, this is what we're going to be. Then the next album we just wanted to show everyone like here's what we can really do. Like let's take the guitars, the drums, the vocals and just push everything to the limit and show like we could do this if we wanted to. And then this album was really more like, okay, we already did that. Let's just vibe now. Let's vibe out and just write some good, memorable, catchy songs. Obviously, still heavy. We don't want to stray too far because like we have a dedicated fan base. We love them so much, and they have certain expectations of us. So we're like, well, let's deliver the heaviness. Let's deliver the weirdness and like the ADHD riffs, but let's also give them something new, a different vibe, and see if they like it. I do think it's very much like a push pull with fans. It's very much, are they going to dig what we're doing? And are they going to dig what we want to do? And can we find this middle ground of what they expect and what they want versus what we want? No pun intended. And can we make it work so that everybody's happy? And I feel like with this album, we've mostly succeeded. I know I've seen a few feedback where people it's not heavy enough for them or it's too weird for them, but it seems like most of our fans are enjoying it, which is all I could really hope for.
Yeah, I mean, you're never gonna put out an album where everyone is pleased, right? You're never gonna get that. You're fighting a losing battle if you're gonna try and do that.
Yeah, it's just impossible.
Yeah, and I think that gets more and more impossible the more albums you put out because fans will come in at certain points and attach to a certain album, and because you're not replicating that certain album, maybe you'll like draw more influences from a different album. They'll just be like, right, but this new one you've just put out isn't for me because you're not trying this out, and yeah, that's just the way it is.
It's a catch 22 for sure. Like you can't please everybody, but as long as most people dig it and they want to hear it live and they're going to come out and see it and they're going to stream the albums or buy the albums or whatever, like that's all we could really hope for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned that you went into the studio and recorded your vocals despite you were kind of like recovering from pneumonia. I mean, firstly, I hope like you're absolutely fine from that now and you're fully recovered and stuff. But were you not worried doing so like might damage your voice or anything else?
No, so I've been a vocal coach since 2020, but I've been doing vocals since 2006, 2007.
A
So
long
I know
time.
my voice really well. I know like when it's getting tired, I know where my limits are. I know how to push those limits if I really want to. So it was like I got sick way back in I think it was June, July. It was last year when we went through Europe and we played these three festivals, and then we did our two festivals, and then we did three shows in the UK.
Right.
And on the plane ride home, I got sick. Our previous keyboardist Thomas got sick, and Max got sick. I think it was just the three of us. And when I got sick, I get really sick, and it was like we hopped immediately onto the Summer Slaughter tour. So I was already just like so drained and sick that entire tour. And like I said, it turned into pneumonia. And I've
Right.
talked about this in a video I dropped like a month ago, but on that tour, I saw my ex at the time and they infected me with HIV, and that made everything so much worse because I was
No way.
already sick, and now all of a sudden my immune system is just really declining. That's where the pneumonia ended up coming
All
from
right.
because I don't know what you know about that disease, but it's like it attacks your CD4 cells. And once they dip below 500, that's when you're at risk of opportunistic bacteria like pneumonia and all these other terrible things. So at that point, everything just like really got awful. And when I recorded the album, I didn't know I had pneumonia,
Right.
and I didn't know that I had HIV. So it was like I had been to the doctor, they fumbled the test and everything, so I thought I was good. The doctor told me that I was recovering from what he thought was pneumonia, and he was basically like, yeah, it's like the fire is out, but you still have all this like crap in your lungs, and you're probably going to be dealing with that for a while. So I knew that like I was sick, but I was like, well, like I wrote the songs in a way that it's not like, what's the word? It's not like strenuous on my voice. Whereas
Right.
like the Generation of Danger, those songs, those are hard live. Those songs are really tough. Like I will say I've really never, ever since I joined the band, I've really never been too worried about hurting myself, just because I know how to heal my voice and I know how to take care of myself. But yeah, it's definitely it was in a way, I guess it was I'm struggling for words. I guess I'm not worried about hurting my voice or anything like that. I know my voice well, but I definitely, like I was saying earlier, I wrote it in a way that I don't have to worry about that, because we've done
Yeah.
so many tours where I was worried about my voice, and I'd be like, "Hey guys, like this song I have to sing really high, but my voice feels kind of like tired today, so maybe let's not do that song and we'll do a different song instead." The Summer Slaughter tour, we had to change the set list like 3 or 4 times, because in the beginning my voice was just so messed up from the pneumonia and from being sick that I was just like, I can't. Or actually, I guess I didn't have pneumonia. I guess it was just being sick because I hadn't turned in pneumonia yet. But
Mm.
my voice was just so messed up, like the beginning of that tour, especially, that I was like, I can't sing this song, can't sing this song. Let's swap those out, swap other things in. It's easier for me to scream when I'm sick versus singing. That's something I've noticed, and I'm sure other vocalists have noticed that as well. But like, assuming you're screaming correctly, when you're sick, it's like the cleans that, especially the high stuff, that really gets affected. But like
Right.
scream, you can do that all day. I could be like totally like vocally drained and at like the bottom of the barrel and still sound great. I know 2 years ago I did Musician Mansion, and I was just talking way too much and like screaming my head off and just being a dumbass.
Yeah.
And I lost my voice like 3 days into the show.
Oh
And
no.
I just continued to do everything the way I always was. Like, dude, you listen to my speaking voice, and I was just like, yeah, what's up, guys? Like my voice is so messed up. But then you listen to me screaming, and it sounds perfect. Because if you
Mm.
have good screaming technique, your screams really shouldn't be affected too much by the loss of the clean stuff. The clean stuff is where you really have to be careful, because that, like, I shouldn't really say like, oh, I lost my train of thought. I guess what I'm trying to say is, no, I'm not too worried, because
That's good.
false chord screaming doesn't use too much of the true chords. Like, they're engaged, but you're mostly hearing that false chord distortion. I'm like nerding out at this point, but yeah, I'm not too worried about
That's
it.
good. Well, it's good that you know your limits, right? And I guess what you've just explained there kind of shows one of the benefits of performing live, but not to a click track, right? You can be far more fluid in terms of what your set list is. Like,
Oh
because
yeah.
obviously when you have a click track, you kind of like you've got the songs programmed, like when you come in and you come out and stuff like that. Whereas not having a click track, you can, as you say, kind of mess with the set list as many times as you want really on a tour, as long as you know the songs, right?
Oh yeah. We've had shows where or tours where we just get bored of playing the set list, and we'll just on the fly, we're like, we haven't played like Cottonmouth in like a year. Let's just throw that in. And everyone's like, you remember how to play it? And so it's like we haven't practiced it. So then like that day we'll like sound check with it. And then we're like, yeah, let's play it tomorrow and we'll sound check it again. And then if it sounds good enough, we're like, okay, yeah, we remember it. Let's go.
Yeah.
But that is very much one of the perks of not playing to a click, is you can speed it up when you want, you can slow it down when you want. We actually had a show where our drummer Joel, at the time he was a fill-in drummer, we were on the Attila tour, and just like he wasn't playing, he was like a drum tech, because our actual drummer who is our bassist now,
Yeah.
showed back up. So Joel just was like super drunk and like did a stage dive and didn't get up. And
Oh
so we
no.
just stopped playing the song and we were like, dude, are you good? And he just gives a thumbs up and we're like, all right. And then we just counted in and picked it up exactly where we left off. And we're
Yeah.
like, yeah, you really do that if you're on a click. Like you're kind of, you'd have to start the whole thing over. So not knocking people that want to be on a click. I can see the perks of it. Like my other band, Enough of Me, I'm the lead guitarist and the drummer speeds it up like crazy. And there's like this guitar solo that's right at the peak of my ability. And when like it's supposed to be played at like 94 beats per minute, but he's playing at like 110. And so I just sound
Okay.
so sloppy. I'm like, dude, I can't sweep that fast. Like, what are you gonna do? So I definitely understand why bands play to a click. If you're at the like performing at the peak of your skill and suddenly everything's faster, you're gonna sound sloppy. That's just the way it is. So I get
Yeah.
it. Tallah just doesn't really want to have that like lock.
Yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons to both, right? Like there's reasons why you would not have a click, and there's reasons why you would have a click. It just depends on what works for the band and their songs and what they want to do live, right?
Yeah, like I said, we have a DJ, so any like weird samples or 808s or whatever that we want to throw in, he can just do it. And we have a backup vocalist who's really good, so any like backup things he want, he could do that. If we wanted backup screams, Derek kind of can scream, but if we wanted it, he could do backup stuff. Like it's just we've always just been in this position where we have everything we need, so we don't feel the need to be like on a click and use backing tracks. But I will say, recording without a click, it's harder than you would think it is, but it's also like kind of easy. It's harder than you'd think it is because it's like delays and stuff like that. You can't just set it to like, oh yeah, we'll put it on 1/8 of delay or like a 1/8 like triplet. You can't do that because there is no grid. They're like you have to kind of feel it out and be like, okay, I guess we'll put this one at like 0.30 milliseconds because
Yeah.
that kind of sounds in time. You can't copy paste stuff because nothing is the same time or the same BPM. It's not like you can like be like, oh, I nailed the chorus here. Let's copy that and move it over here. It's totally different BPM. It's a different tempo here. You can't do that. So that type of stuff is definitely difficult to work with. But then at the same time, it's like if you're used to doing it live, well, the drummer is your click. So just play to
Yeah.
the drummer. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how did because obviously you went back to Josh Schroeder who did the previous two albums as well. How was it going to him and him doing this? Like, how did he find like work with you guys to do a live album? Because obviously he's got to like kind of, I guess, piece it all together, right?
So, like I said, I wasn't there for like the whole first
Oh
like
yeah, of course.
but from what he told me when I was there and then what the other band members have said, this was like his first time doing something like this. So
Right.
a lot of the early studio stuff was them figuring out how they can do that because his studio is pretty small. It's gorgeous, but it's small. And he's got like a drum room. And then he's like, well, how do we record the drums but not get all this guitar bleed? So he had to like set up everyone else in this other room, but then they had like a TV that had a live feed of the drummer. And then he had like a live feed of the other three, and they were able to see each other while they were playing to really get that like that live feel without being in the exact same room together and still be able to hear each other. So that was weird. It took him a while to get that set up. And then it was also like him just trying to figure out how to mic everything to get the sounds that we wanted. I know when I was tracking vocals, I was like, I've been practicing it with a handheld. So should we just use a handheld? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And we ended up doing like a mic shootout with like 12 different microphones.
Right.
And I just sang the same part of I think it was like the chorus of What We Know, and then we didn't know which mic was what. We just listened to them all blind and all decided which one we thought sounded the best, and everyone went with the SM57. We had no idea, so we tracked it with that. But it was like Josh is very much about he wants it to sound good. He wants it to everything to fit together, but he also wants to give you what you want. So if you say, "Hey, I kind of want to do this," he's gonna make it happen. So when
Right.
we went to him, we were like, "Hey, we kind of want to do like a live album." And I mean, I guess it's not technically a live album. It just feels like a live album because there's no click and because everything was recorded in these big sections. But it's not like we played every single song in one take. Like only the vocals are actually like one giant take. But you tell him we want to do like a live album, he's gonna let you do a live album. I'm pretty sure. I won't say the band because I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I think the band that went in after us, Josh showed them our stuff, and they did a live album after that because they were so inspired by it, which
Oh,
is really.
really? You might have started a trend.
I mean, we didn't start the trend, we're just doing what bands were doing 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like just with like Josh, like if he's like saying, "Oh, this is we've just done a live album," a live recorded album, then they try and I don't know, emulate it, but to their kind of what
Oh
they want to
yeah,
achieve. Yeah, yeah,
I mean that'd be cool. I would love to see more bands not on a click and not using backtracks because I've always loved metal music and just hard rock and stuff like that because it's so different than pop music. It used to not be so on the grid and so locked in with all these like layers and pitch correction and all this stuff that like people are doing now. That's what I liked about metal and hard rock was that it was so organic and raw and like it just made me feel like, oh, this is awesome. And now it seems like the production of metal and hard rock and even the live production, it is going toward that pop formula, which makes me sad because I'm like, I I don't want to listen to that. I want to hear things be chaotic and messy. Like that's what this music's all about to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I totally see that. Like, I guess it just depends on what you want, right? Like, some people want that kind of polished, tightened, like everything is like in its place, whereas bands like you kind of like embrace the chaotic side of it and a bit more of the I don't know,
Yeah.
like fluidity of it.
Yeah, and it's like if that's their agenda, if they want to have that really polished sound, I'm not going to knock them for it. Like I totally understand. Like you hear the product a certain way and you want to deliver that to the fans a certain way. Like that's your right. That's your prerogative. You can do whatever you want. But I definitely am not on that boat. Like I'll listen to those bands. Like I'm again not knocking those bands, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I personally feel like they would sound better if they didn't have that stuff. Like I don't know if you're familiar with URM Academy. They have like Nail to Mix.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm on that and I will constantly go and download the stems for different bands and unpolish them just so I can hear what that song would have sounded like if it
Right.
was a more raw mix and didn't have like all these like sample replacements for the drums and like a bazillion layers for the guitars and vocals and like I like to like get rid of all that stuff and then be like I would listen to this band if it sounded like this.
That's an interesting way to go about it. Like you kind of like yeah, you kind of like stripping away the shine of it a little bit and just getting to the core of it, I guess.
Yeah, because I noticed because one thing I do like to do is I won't listen to the original song. Like I'll just download the stems, mix it my way, and then compare it afterward and see how different it is.
Right.
And a lot of the time I notice they sample replace all the drums, even though the rock hit sounds freaking amazing. And I'm like, why aren't they using these drums? They sound fine. They will have so many layers of guitars with like all the saturation that changes the sound completely. And I'm like, yeah, but like you could just have two guitars. They sounded great. They were recorded well. You don't need all this stuff. I think it's almost like people feel like they have to have this stuff. They have to have these polished, crazy, huge mixes. Well, when you strip all that away, the song is good enough and the
Yeah.
band played it well enough that you just don't need that stuff. Like, give it some area to breathe. Let it be kind of scuffed up and dirty. It's metal. Like, people want that anyway.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, going back to Primeval, like as you've done with your previous albums, you've gone down the concept route again. So I think it kind of follows it's on an alien planet and then I think there's two characters, Anna, who's a nurse, and then Sheila, who's an assassin. Like that's the two characters that are being followed in this story. Can you kind of expand on the concept a bit? Like what is the story
Sure.
that's being told on the album?
So I don't think there will ever be a time when I don't do a concept album. Like I've been doing concept albums since I was like 19 and I'm gonna be 35 this month. So it's just like my thing. I love concept albums. So this time around, it was weird. We actually just did like a big band studio interview that I haven't released yet, where I kind of talked about it more. But when I originally wrote the lyrics for this album, there actually wasn't a concept yet. I wanted to do something different. So I kind of just like Max and I had this twin idea, and that was pretty much all there was for the concept. He was like, Well, like I gave him this idea of like, hey, what if we have like the songs almost mirroring each other? So like you have what we want and what we know. You've got augmented and depleted. They like parts of each song are kind of spliced in between, and the instrumentals do that. So once I got the instrumentals, I was like, I'm just gonna stream of consciousness these lyrics. I'm not gonna think about it. I'm just gonna write whatever comes to mind. Like I'll do gibberish and like, do I hear anything cool in the gibberish? And like just throw it out there. And then after I finished all of that, I ended up adding the story bits to it and coming up with like the full fleshed out, here's what's going to happen in this song and here's what's going to happen in that song. But I'd say like 80% of the lyrics are just stream of consciousness, which was crazy because some of these songs, it almost sounds like I was like predicting what was going to happen to me a few months later with the HIV and stuff like that. Like
Right.
you listen to like what we know, and you hear when I'm like, it's already decided. Don't test your fate because you might hate what you find and stuff like that. And that was just stream of consciousness. And I'm like, oh, did I know this was going to happen? You listen to like my Primeval Obsession, and it's like, what's that line? It's like, but had I expressed myself, I would probably be a long way from here, a heathen, what I have succumbed to. I'm onward and trashward again. I'm just like, damn, like, why did I say that about myself? It really did feel like I like almost like saw this storm approaching and wrote about it. And then the storm happened. And I'm like, that's so freaking weird. But a lot of those lyrics, they're just like strange. But with the actual like literal concept of the story, you have these two characters and they get approached by these like they're not it's not like a cult, they're just like the higher ups of the planet, they're like the people in control. And both of these people, these two girls, they're tasked with something very immoral. One of them is like told, hey, you have to there's going to be this lady who has twins and you have to kill one of the twins because we can't have both of them survive. And so that's Anna's story. And it's kind of like going through how she feels about the situation. Like, is she going to do it? How are you, like, she's a nurse. She's supposed to like bring these babies out and let them be born. And now all of a sudden she has to kill one of them. So the whole first half of the album from, um, what we know to Obsession is her point of view. It's, is she going to do this? How does she feel about it? Like, how does it affecting her? Then from Detachment to What We Want is Sheila's side of the story. And her task is kind of like the twist where they tell her, hey, there's this nurse who's going to try to kill one of these babies. You have to kill the nurse. So it's very much
Right.
now this other character is on her way to the other side of the planet to kill this nurse. She's an assassin, so she's used to killing people, and like, but she's thinking about like why would they have me do this? Why is she going to kill one of these babies? So it's like her whole thing. And then they kind of meet in the middle, which is like roughly like the end of Obsession and the beginning of Detachment. They have this, they meet for the first time, and then the story continues to play out like from there. But it's very weird because it's like a linear story, but it's not. It's like Anna's story from start to finish is linear, and from start to finish is linear. But then the song Lacuna is like the end of the album, and we kind of put it in the middle to separate the two. And it's cool because Lacuna, I think in Spanish it means the crib, but it's also this like empty space. Like it's this like void that's getting filled. I think it has something to do with like inside of like bones, but
Right.
it's like, yeah, it's like the space between. So it just ended up being a really cool album. There's a lot of reprisals because the concept has this like mirroring aspect. So you'll hear the choruses or verses or whatever from some songs put into other songs and be like, "Oh, that's so cool." Like it's very interesting.
Yeah. So how did you then come up with these concepts? I guess specifically with this one, like you say, you kind of wrote these lyrics and some of it was like stream of consciousness and stuff, but then once you wrote them, you've kind of got a, I don't know how you do it, but do you like get a storyboard and you kind of like piece together how these lyrics could go into like a storyline?
Really? So with like my solo stuff, Hungry Lights, this is kind of the way that I've always written, but like almost in reverse. So
Right.
with those and with the previous two Tallah albums as well, it was like I would come up with the story. And when I was writing each song, I would stream of consciousness based on the story. So I'm
Right.
like, some of it is just me and how I feel, and other parts I'm like, oh, this is the character saying this, and this is how the character feels. But it's always just been like, let me just close my eyes and listen to it and write whatever comes to mind, do the gibberish thing and see if I hear anything in that. So that's always been the way I write. But with this album specifically, I was like, I kind of want to see what happens if there isn't a concept and how that would feel. So it was kind of like after I wrote everything, I went and looked at each individual song and I analyzed it as if I didn't write it. And I was like, what is this song about? And then I was like, well, it kind of sounds like whoever this is doing this and doing that and doing this. And then it turns into this. And I was like, okay, that's going to be the first part of the story then. And then once I solidified in my head, like, okay, yeah, this is going to be the part where these two characters meet and then you go in and add things like in Primeval Detachment, there's that line, step away from the crib. That was added after the fact because, well, now I know the characters have met. So I'm like,
Right.
let's add a line to like really show that this is where they're meeting. Whereas before I might have said something totally different, but I want the concept to also be apparent. So I swap out some lyrics to fit this new idea, but I don't really do any like bullet points. I don't really do any like character sheets or anything like that. I kind of just have it in my head and I just write down this song is about this, this song is about that, this song sounds like it might be about this. And then I look at what I wrote and view it from an outside perspective as if I didn't write it. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, if this is happening and this is happening, then I should say something in the song to show that this is happening. And then again, just kind of like swap some of the lyrics out to make it make more sense.
Yeah, that's an interesting like kind of way of doing it. It's just so interesting like how different concept records kind of like are pieced together because everyone's kind of got their own method.
Yeah, that's what I always loved about concept albums is every writer, whether they're doing the instrumentals or the lyrics, it's that everyone has their own method. And that's one of the things that really like pisses me off about like AI is AI just has one method. It has its one thing that it does. So it just starts to feel very like lackluster. Whereas
Yeah.
when you add the human touch to it, that human element, well, you're going to do things your way. Even if you're following a formula, you're going to follow that formula your way. You're going to make your decisions and it just makes it so much more special.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looks like AI is not going anywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
definitely not. But I'm
no.
hoping that like with this album and just like the way that we do things, we know people look up to us. We have our fans, and we're hoping, hey, maybe they'll engage in doing these things as well, rather than doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And we mentioned before, that is an accompanying video game, the private Primeval game, which you've done a game in the past with the previous album as well. And from what I've saw, there's going to be like regular updates. There's like new kind of, I don't know, lore coming into the game as time goes on. I don't know if that's true or not.
So from what I know, the two developers, I think it's two, they do have plans and intentions for that, but
Right.
I'm not sure how like I don't want to say motivated, but like they might be too busy. I don't know what they're planning on doing with the game. I know they made
Right.
it and they had a lot of fun with it and they do want to keep people playing it. And I think the feedback they got from it was so positive that they want to continue with it. But I really don't know if they're going to do that. Like obviously, they have our permission. They can do, you know, keep doing updates and keep fixing it and making it better and better. Well, I don't know if they're going to do that. Like
Right.
it's not something that's like in my knowledge pool.
Fair enough. Are you much of a gamer yourself? Do you play video games?
Yeah, like I consider myself a gamer, but I'm very specific with the games I play. I typically rotate between RuneScape, World of Warcraft, and League of Legends and Magic the Gathering Arena. And those are like my four games, and I can only play one at a time. So I will pick one game and I will play that one game for like a year or two, and then I'll take a break and then pick up the other one where I left off and just keep
Right.
rotating games over. I also do like playing like some solo games. Like I've been playing through the Kingdom Hearts franchise lately. That's been a ton of fun. But outside of that, like I don't really like first person shooters. Like I'm not into like Call of Duty and stuff like that. I don't really play like Minecraft. I don't like those big open world games where it's like you can do whatever you want. Like I need to have a task and a goal, and that's what makes me want to play the game. But I also really like games. Like I said, I love League of Legends. I like games that make me have to use my brain and try to compete with these other people and see what they're doing and how can I keep up with that. And for me, games are more of like, they're like brain teasers. It's not like something for me to just like do to pass time. It's like, all right, like I want to compete and I want to do this thing and I want to like set this goal and make it happen and bring it to life and stuff like that. I want to actually use my brain.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just like well, like you say, like Call of Duty, like just going around shooting people, I guess. And you want like more like brain teasers and puzzles and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's just how I always liked video games. I want the challenge of it. And I'm sure there's challenges in Call of Duty, but I don't like
Yeah,
guns. So that challenge isn't for me.
yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Um, well, yeah. You guys were also you got a few shows booked. I think you got some album release shows towards the end of September, and then I think you're going on a tour with King 810 in November. How are you feeling about those shows?
Really, I'm nervous, but I'm also excited. I'm excited because these are the first live shows we've played since last year. I think we did that Summer Slaughter tour, then all that health stuff happened, and then we played two shows. I think it was two shows. It was like a big festival with the House of Masks, and then we played like a headliner on the way to that because it was all the way in Ohio. But we played those two, and then that was it. We haven't played since like November, December. So these are the first shows that we are playing. It's the first time we're playing these new songs live. With the September stuff, we're playing the full album from start to finish, and then we'll do
Wow.
like hits after that. So that's exciting. I'm definitely nervous because we haven't played live for so long. I've played a few shows with my other band, but they were just little one-off shows with like, we're like a new band. We don't even have music out, so it's like you're playing to like 12 people in a dive bar again, which is
Right.
always humbling. Like you go from like Tallah, where it's like we put like 300 people at this like and pack this place out, to like now we're back. I feel like I started over again, where I'm like nobody knows who this band is, and there's nobody's like buying merch because they have no idea who we are. It's weird. It's so humbling and weird, but at the same time, I got to keep playing, so I know I'm not out of practice. But with Tallah, definitely nervous. There's going to be a lot of people there, and now that my immune system is not great, I'm like worried I'm going to get sick, so I have to be really careful about like shaking people's hands and taking pictures and stuff like that, signing things. Like I might have to have like my own Sharpie so that I'm
Right.
not constantly like getting other people's germs on me. So that has me really nervous. With King 810, I'm so excited because I've been listening to them since probably like 2018. And there have been so many times where we were supposed to play a show with them and it just didn't happen. And now it's finally happening. And I'm
Yeah.
really pumped about it.
Yeah, not just a show, like a whole tour with them. Like I think it's
Yeah,
yeah, through
it's
most of
cool.
November.
And with them, I'm a little nervous because I know like they have like a pretty crazy reputation. Like I've heard rumors where it was like, yeah, like they didn't play a show because the venue wouldn't let them bring in their guns. And like there was another one that was like, yeah, they just like brought in like a deer carcass in a wheelbarrow. And I'm like, I don't know how true it is, but they sound freaking nuts. I know they Josh works with them as well. So and he said that like they're really nice people and they're interesting to talk to. So I know I would love to pick like David Gunn's brain and hear about like where his lyrics come from and stuff like that because he seems like such an interesting person.
Yeah, because they do concepts as well, don't they? They have like concept records. So yeah, I guess like he'll have his own like methods and stuff, and yeah, it might inspire you for whatever comes next with Tyler and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely am never against people inspiring me because I definitely feel like when it comes to creating things, you have to consume to create. You can't just pull it out of nowhere. You have to have all these pieces in your head and then you blend it with your own personal experiences and you send it back out and you here's how I want to express myself. So the way King 810 expresses themselves is very interesting. And I do think there's a lot of like inspiration that I can pull from
De
100%.
definitely, definitely. Well, have you guys got anything else planned for the rest of 2025 or 2026 that you can talk about?
I know we have this cool like studio interview that I think we're gonna probably release it later in September. There's an audio tree thing that we did, which I'm not sure when we're gonna release that. Definitely after the album comes out,
Right.
but that's definitely it's already done. We just gotta put it out there. Um, I I think the King 810 tour is the only tour because we don't really like to tour like in like December, January, unless it's like a really cool opportunity. I remember we did like a Left to Suffer tour in December, November, and that was awesome. But
Yeah.
like touring in the winter, especially as a vocalist, totally sucks. Like that's when you got to be really careful about your voice because it's so dry out and it's just like ugh. But we typically don't like touring in the winter, so I think that King 810 one's probably the only one we're gonna do. But we've got playthroughs, drum playthroughs, guitar playthroughs, bass playthroughs, like all this stuff we wanted to put on our YouTube channel to like have content to release while this is happening. And I think like 2026 is really going to be when we tour like crazy because we just made this new album and we want to play these songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Justin, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me about the new album and all things Tallah. Before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, any final words, anything you want to say or plug? Floor's yours.
Oh yeah, if you don't know about the as Fate Undoes video, definitely check that out. Like it's such
Yeah.
a cool, weird video. Like we made these crazy like puppets that like resemble us, and it's like just like a really fun video. People like it, so yeah, check that out. And that's pretty much it. You know, if you want to check out Hungry Lights or Enough of Me, those are my other projects. Check them out. But yeah, keep an eye out for the tours, keep an eye out for merch drops. And obviously, thank you guys so much for listening and, you know, being awesome fans. Like, we really couldn't ask for a better fan base.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, whenever you guys are next in the UK, I'll see you then. And yeah, best of luck with everything, dude.
Heck yeah, let us know. We'll throw you on the guest list or something.
Awesome, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah. Take care of yourself and yeah, hopefully speak soon.
Yep. Bye bye.
See you later, dude. And that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in to It's Not a Phase. If you enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Leave a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Follow the podcast on social media. And maybe even join the Patreon or grab some merch from the store. You can find everything that you need at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again. Hopefully catch you on the next one. And remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.